Right, so we're going to move on to, I believe it's part 5, I think, next. Now I'm back from my holidays and suitably refreshed. That's how far we've got with the one we've built so far. The little cam action works. It sort of pushes the back of this up, which will, against its pivot, push that down. So yeah, that all seems to work alright. I've pushed the bushes in into the little recesses, and everything seems to fit together quite nicely. So it's onward onto the next part, which, yeah, so my first job is these 2 pieces of metal, which is this part here. So we've got to machine this part. There's a slot to cut in and 2 holes, and there's a description along the bottom of it here. So that to do. Again, it doesn't give an overall length, only gives the distance between the 2 holes. So I'll have to work out how that one works out and then bring it back 2 3/4, is it? No, 3 inches from hole to centre, and then mark this out, because once those holes are in, I can get a measurement then of 1/2 inch back for the centre of the beginning of that slot to cut, which is this slot here. So I'm going to do those 2 first, and what I'm going to do is clean the ends up, and then so they're both exactly the same length, because they're not. Drill the 2 holes and then bolt them together, and that's so that when I'm cutting the slots in, these slots in here, I can clamp better in my vise and some parallels if they're bolted together. One's 1/4, one's 3/8. And then I cut the slot, flip it over and cut the slot on the other side, and then I've got the match pair, and they're going to be both identical. And now I've finally got this done and assembled. I could make that cap. You remember there was just that screwed in, and we were saying that, or I was saying that I think the theory behind that was to give it some shear capacity, because once you've got that cap on, you're not pulling on that thread as much, you're doing a bending force if you pull that down, whereas with that you're levering against something. So I've drilled the hole and assemble it. See if it fits. Fingers crossed. Oh, whoopie-doo. Yeah, great. So that's finished as well. You can see this action. If you look at that there, that's dropped in its housing, and as I pull the lever, if you can see that, where I'm at a shot, right, as you can see the lever as I pull it, that comes up, so now that's flush. So that's back down. I mean, I'm talking, is it a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch? It's nothing, but it's enough to cause the nail. Happy so far, we shall carry on. Now they're blued up, I can start marking them out. This wants to be 3/8. drill. Sorry, in a metric collet. Some fit, some don't. These are the ones I got from RDG, RGD tools, and they seem quite good. They've actually got the sizes stamped in them on the shank, not etched, so it'll never wear off, which is a good thing. So that's one hole drilled, and all being well, it'll radius around that point when I come to do it. So I need to measure 3 inches exactly from there to my next hole back. I've got these clamped in and I've already milled this edge off. The other end's rough and I'll have to trim that off afterwards. Once I've drilled this hole I can see how much I need to take off. I'm trying to avoid taking them out. I wonder if I could get a nut and bolt in there now and nip it up. I might have a stainless Allen screw or something that'll do it. And nut. So I can lift it out and turn it. I don't actually know if I could work this parallel underneath it, which is quite tight. I could measure my hole out and drill that, because it don't have to be exactly 3 inches, it's just an adjuster. Right, again, I don't want to take that out until I bolt them. I want to bolt them together now, and then I can take them out and they won't move, and then I'm ready to mill my slots, both sides, well, one side of one, the other side of the other. So that's my stop, so I know when I mill this slot in here. All I've got to do is turn the part over and do the same again using the same measurements off the DRO. Just showing that, that's all, just an end stop. Right, so we've got our 1.5 inch long slot cut in there using a 2 flute. I believe 2 flute's better when you're doing a channel like this. They clear out better, although I must admit it was crunching a little bit. I had to keep brushing it out, and that's 1/8 of an inch deep. So what I did was I plunged down in 3 separate ones. I went down and then came across, then went back down a bit further, came across, and same again for 3rd pass. There's different schools of thought on this. I mean, a lot of people drill that with the cutter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, and then just clear out what were left with the cutter. Some people believe in that, and that maybe is the proper way of doing it, I don't know. But I've seen it done both ways, but I didn't. I cut a slot 3 times to get my depth. Well, that's the first bit of the slot cut. That were 1 millimetre deep, but I did it dry. I know it's HSS and it wants oil, but couldn't do 2 things at once. So what I've done is held my vacuum cleaner up against it, and it cut far superior doing it that way. Far superior. So sorry about the noise. Have a look at it. I need to drop that, don't I? Not too far away to focus. Just taking about 0.25 of a millimetre off at a time. They're still clamped together with a back bolt, and I've made a quarter steel pin with a 5mm M5 thread on, screwed it in, and that's my fulcrum point. It's going to take a bit more off that top one, 'cause that top one was just slightly longer. The back edge, the other side, that's already been machined, but these ends hadn't. So it'll take a bit more off the top than the bottom to start with. Putting both pieces together now. the other side, because that's a 1/4 pin. This other one's going to be 3/8, I believe. I think I might actually. I think I've got this one made from before that should fit that. Sure it will. Come back in a bit. Wouldn't you just know it? The one I thought would fit doesn't fit. It's too small. So I'm having to make one. Right, I've cleaned them up. Got that blue off. So they're complete now. That's a matched pair. And they go down there. They fit inside there. Like that. I'm assuming they go quite a way down because the piece of brass that goes through there has a trunnion on there, and that screws up and down. So doing really well. So that's that part finished. So it's a case of guessing now what's to do next. I've got to start on this this bolt mechanism that goes up and down here. I need to do that next, which actually goes in between these in here and there. So I need to get that done next and work out whether I'm going to do the detail on the end first and then thread it, or thread it and then do the detail. I do think I'll probably do the detail first because you don't want to damage the thread, do you? So we'll get it all planned out and carry on with part 5. Unless I make a part 6, of course. I'll see how long this video is I've done, all these bits, and if it's going to be too long, I'll finish that as part 5 and then create a part 6, because they end up too many minutes long and you lose interest when you're watching it. I know, because I do it myself. I watch other people's stuff and they tend to try and keep them into like less than 30 minutes. Keeps your interest. Okay. Right. We've had an executive board meeting, me and my mate, and we've decided that this is going to be the end of part 5, because there's no way I would get in all this other stuff. It'd end up being over an hour long. There's still the screw to make, which is this long screw that goes through, but there's a trunnion to make there, there's a cap to the top, there's a Tommy bar for that, there's the main bar threaded, there's another trunnion to fit on the bottom, and it goes right down, if you can see that, right down the centre. So there's a lot of work still to do, and I don't want to rush it. I've been going steady away all the way through. So all these parts here, including the 3/8 tap, BSF and die, that luckily I had in my drawer. Knurling wheels, well, there's one there, there's one in the bag, and all this bar stock. That actually is just to fit on the side to go in a tool holder, but it's still a job to do. But yeah, there's these two to machine. There's quite a lot of machining on those. That's the 3/8 rod to thread. What's that bit for? I haven't got a clue what that's for, but it's for something. That's the Tommy bar. So I'm not actually 100% sure what that one's for. Oh yes, that's the one that goes through the bottom of here, I believe. Is it? I think it is. I think it's what goes through here anyway. Bottom pivot. I need reaming those yet. Yeah, and then there's those little keeper plates that I mentioned earlier to hold the nails in. Oh no, sorry, I am wrong. That is for the knurling pins. Is that? That's for the knurling pins. So yeah, that's going to be a part 6. I can't possibly get it all in part 5, otherwise everybody will fall asleep. So I just thought I'd mention that.